In our busy lives that we lead, it's no secret that the number of applications that employees have to navigate daily is growing. So we've got ERPs, CRMs, HRMs, accounting systems, just to name a few. FileBound Connect can really become that bridge between these systems and the content in FileBound that supports them. So being able to have that link between the invoice you've got sitting in FileBound and the accounts payable record inside your accounting system. This enables users to access the relevant content within FileBound while still in their primary application. Some of the benefits that are built into the application include out-of-the-box integration with key web-based applications, ease of use through adoption with a minimal learning curve, being able to have it adapt to existing business processes and improving staff productivity, efficiency, and responsiveness. So what FileBound Connect does is it anticipates and intelligently delivers content relevant to a user's needs, eliminating the manual process of searching to retrieve related content. Going back to my AP example, being in an accounts payable system or an ERP looking at an invoice and having to open up FileBound, go search for the invoice, it does that for you. Connect can also be configured to provide notifications when users receive workflow assignments. So not unlike you get your little email notifications on the bottom right-hand corner of your Windows application. Additionally, it makes it very simple to add documents to files by drag and drop outside of FileBound. What I'll do firstly is open up FileBound Connect. So you can see here, for those on the technical side on the presentation, if I click on configure after I've installed FileBound Connect, we just need to point it to the URL of FileBound, and we test that obviously to make sure that it is going to work, and then give it a username and password. So I should mention now, whatever username and password is entered in at this point has those same privileges as if the user had logged into FileBound directly through the web. What I'm going to do here is open up the accounts payable project I've got here, and then come down here and search for a vendor. So kind of like you would do in FileBound, where you go in and run a search. Now, if I go find, it'll go off and be searching my FileBound, and it's come back and found 2 invoices from this vendor. And if I double click one of those and then click on view, it'll actually open that up in FileBound for me directly. So I'm now looking at my the invoice that I searched for via Connect there. So if we take that a step further, I'll clear that one out, and we're still in our accounts payable process. Obviously, I can come in here and I can search for a specific invoice number. Obviously, as you can see down here, the fields that I've got available to me are those that I would normally have available to me had I been logged into FileBound. If I click on find, I've got one invoice that it's found, so now I can view that, and once again it'll open up FileBound. I'm looking directly at my invoice that I wanted to find. So we're still in our accounts payable project. Actually, I'll research for that invoice that I had up. And a lot of you are probably used to adding information via drag and drop. So, if I wanted to add in this purchase order here, I'd literally drag it and drop it on. What you can do now also is drag and drop straight onto FileBound Connect. So I don't have to have FileBound open. I can say that I want this to go into the purchase order tab, and then save, and then it's in there. So just to prove the point, if I refresh this page here, there's my purchase order that I've just dragged into Connect, has now appeared over here in FileBound. Change gears slightly, and we'll go into HR. That's one of the HR employees project. If I go and search for Roy, we've got Roy Orbison here. So if I view that record, we'll see all we've got in here is a super choice form. Obviously, this is all very just demonstration specific. What I've got to show you now is an email. So I have a tax file declaration form here in Outlook. If I grab that and drag it over here and let go, it'll pop up and say, what do you want to do? What I want to do is store the email and contents and the attachments. I can then, as separate documents, I can then come down here and specify where I want them to go. So let's leave that one in correspondence. Tax file declaration form. Pretty sure I've got a tax documents. Yep. So now if I click save, it'll actually go and upload those into FileBound. So if I come back over to my employee record, now I've got that email. There it is right there. And there's the tax file declaration form. So once again, without having to open up FileBound, I can get information very easily, whether it be a file in a folder or whether it be an email and or an attachment. So I could have just pulled that tax file declaration form off the email if I wanted to, and store it straight into FileBound. The next thing I'll show you is the FileBound printer. So this is a part of FileBound Connect that gets installed, obviously, when you install Connect. So I've still got Roy's employee file open here. If I come in and go back into my employee files and we open up the, what was I looking for here? Sample employment contract, which is this PDF, and I go file print. You'll notice one of my options here is FileBound printer. So if I click on print there, it'll actually pop up in a sec and say, okay, here's your document. I can choose to rename the document here. So I'm going to call it employment contract. I can choose a divider to put it into, so we'll pop it into contract, and now I click save. And so it's taking my PDF and then, in inverted commas, printing that into FileBound. So once again, I'll refresh on my file here and we should see a new divider pop up, contract, and there's my employment contract. Going back to Outlook, you saw me before drag and drop a record across into FileBound and have the email and the attachment appear in there. You'll notice up the top here, we've actually got a FileBound button. So if I select this email here, which I've got my photo of Roy and a letter of engagement and obviously the content of the email. If I come up to FileBound and I click Save Email to FileBound, similar to what you saw before, we've now got the option to store either the email and attachments, or the attachments only. So what I'm going to do here is just store the attachments. I don't really care about the content of the email. We're going to call the letter of engagement, we'll put it in correspondence, and we'll put this one into employee photo and save. And so, yeah, didn't drag and drop at that time. I used the built-in FileBound button within Outlook itself. So you can see here my employee file is building out. There's the letter of engagement, there's my photo. I want to shift gears slightly now, and I'm going to open up, this is an Access database that I've just set up specifically for this purpose. Now you'll notice here I'm looking at Bob Dylan's record. If I come over and click in the employee file, FileBound Connect has actually run an automatic search on that. So you can see now we're looking at Bob Dylan's file over here, and if we go and change that to Freddie Mercury, you'll see this has changed, and now I'm looking at Freddie Mercury's information. So importantly, if I click on Roy Orbison and it goes and searches for Roy, well, you'll notice up the top here now we've got a contract, I've got 2 bits correspondence, there's the photo. So I can click on view, and like you saw before, it would open up and I'd be looking at the file and be able to come down and look at the document that I want to look at. What I'm demonstrating here is the ability to be inside an application. FileBound Connect, I could actually minimize that, and then we'll go and search for Angus Young, and we'll click on the employee ID, and you'll notice down here it's popped up and said, hey, I found 2 documents for Angus Young. And so as I'm running searches, if I minimize that and we'll just open Roy Orbison up again, there's my notification hiding there. And if I run another one, so as I'm running or working through my application, my line of business system, FileBound's automatically running searches in the background. And okay, I want to have a look at these documents. I've got Freddie's file up and I can go and have a look at what needs to be looked at. So if you think about your line of business systems and the potential toing and froing that you have, I'm sure you can see that that could certainly increase efficiency, especially when now, assuming this was a HRM, I'm in my platform, I look up Freddie's file, I need to add a document in, it's already run a search for me. I can grab the doc and drag and drop, and it goes into FileBound. It starts to speed up various processes. The next thing I'd like to show you is along the same vein, however, it's using a web-based application. So here I'm in Xero. I come into my bills down here and I click on an invoice. Invoice opens up and it's gone and run a search in FileBound and found me my invoice. So I can click view if I needed to view the invoice, and there's the invoice. I also have a search running on purchase orders here. So if we come down and I choose number 3, I know this one's got multiple invoices on it. So once it runs its search there's my multiple invoices. So what I've done here in Xero is I've opened up a purchase order, but in FileBound there are, like that purchase order split across multiple invoices. So FileBound Connect's already run the search on the purchase order number and come back and said, oh, you've got these 2 invoices that are against this purchase order. I can see over here straight away, one's been approved, that one's my new invoice. Okay, that's the one I want to open up. And we'll go view, and I've got my invoice that is, as you can see over here on the right, currently in workflow. So I can then go and action that if that's what my task was. So just to recap, we've got access. So we've run searches off a client-based application. We've also run searches off a web-based application. The kicker is that we've got a tool in the background running searches while we're going through our day, performing our tasks, looking up purchase orders in Xero or Mile, whatever the application is, and then having it going, oh, I found this, okay, I want to look at that, and then and you go and obviously look at the information, and if you need to open a document, you can go and open up the file and go and view that document.